way that it unravels is just so juicy. Now it dives low on all fours. Oh! It made me laugh so much. Welcome to my first ever reading books by Latin authors. I'm so excited for today's video. The older that I am getting, the more I have been wanting to diversify the books and authors that I am reading. So I wanted to bring you guys along on that journey. When I first started reading, I was primarily only a romance reader. After a couple of years of doing that, I realized that I need to change up the genres that I'm reading. I just started to get really tired of the same kind of different romance books that I was picking up, and so then I thought I need to pick up books from other authors, but more importantly authors that are also Latina like myself. The first book is Vampires of El Norte by Isabel Cañas. This is a historical fiction based in the 1800s in Mexico. There's horror, there's romance. The next one is The Rock Eaters by Brenda Bellando. This is a collection of short stories. There's sci-fi, magical realism, there's talk of immigration and loss. And the last one, The House on Mango Street by Sandra Cisneros. We're following a little girl growing up on Mango Street, and we're following her throughout her journey of growing up, the heartaches that she goes through. Now onto the reading vlog. I hope you guys enjoy. I am going to start off the reading vlog with reading The Rock Eaters by Brenda Bellando. I have read 6 short stories. They have all been odd, weird, interesting. Out of the 6 that I've read, 2 of them I just felt really indifferent about. The rest though, the other 4 I have enjoyed. There's one called The Drownings, where there's kids obsessed with drowning. There's one called The Stones of Sorrow Lake, where whenever someone experiences great sorrow, they grow a rock on their body, as if, imagine like a tumor, like it could be anywhere on their body. There's some that honestly I can't really make sense of. Now I'm gonna continue on reading. Finished The Rock Eaters. I have lots of thoughts. I would rate the book maybe a 3.5. It is a genre bendy book, and it is nothing like I have what was that? It is nothing like I've ever read before, which is what I've been craving, because I have been reading a lot of romance that I've been tired of, that have felt really repetitive. So picking up a book that has sci-fi, that has a little like horror, magical realism, also just like weird and odd, is really entertaining, because I have been craving something like this. Wasn't obsessed with every single short story. That's why I'm rating it a 3.5. The Dreamers, it was about people not being able to fall asleep, and it was seemed as weak and bad, and like you're going off to the dark side. There were some that were hard for me to like really make sense of. The Touches was very interesting. It was definitely like sci-fi, dystopian, end of the world. It reminded me of Fallout, where they aren't allowed to go into the outside world because of radioactive or just like bad diseases that can hurt you, and so they live underground. It's different from Fallout because it's almost like an Avatar sort of thing. They aren't allowed to touch each other because of diseases, so they have their actual body in a like tube. It makes me think of like Avatar, but they have a like simulator of themselves living life but underground. I think short stories aren't really my thing, because I tend to not be connected to the characters, and I feel like I want more, which is a good thing, because that means I was enjoying the short stories, that I was wanting more of it, but it felt like I wasn't able to really connect to the story. I am like very fascinated how she was able to come up with all of these topics and ideas. It wasn't terrible. Like, I don't hate it, but I also am not obsessed with it. Now that I'm done with that one, we are gonna jump into Vampires of el Norte by Isabel Cañas. This one I'm expecting to like a little bit more, only because the places that I get my recommendations from, they've also talked about this book. This one is about, obviously, vampires, and it's based in the 1800s in Mexico, 1837. And so far we also are getting dual POVs. We first started following our character Nena, and now I'm on chapter 2 and we're following Nestor. The way that the first chapter ended off was so intriguing. I would literally gasped. I was like, no way. I feel like I can explain, this isn't a huge spoiler, but obviously Vampires of el Norte, she got bit by a vampire and it was so crazy. Who knows what's going to happen? Like, I have no idea because I did not read the synopsis, which intrigues me a ton. Enough yapping, let's get to reading. Actually, let me read a little bit. So it says, as the daughter of a rancher in 1840s Mexico, Nena knows a thing or two about monsters. Her home has been threatened by tensions with Anglo settlers from the north. But something more sinister lurks near the ranch at night, something that drains men of their blood and leaves them for dead. It says something that once attacked Nena 9 years ago. Okay, so it says it in the synopsis, so I can't say. It says, believing Nena... Oh, I don't know if I want to know this. Believing Nena dead, Nestor has been on the run from his grief ever since, moving from ranch to ranch, working as a vaquero. But no amount of drink can dispel the night terrors of sharp teeth. No woman can erase his childhood sweetheart from his mind. No! This is why sometimes I don't want to read the synopsis, because I just want to like experience it as it's happening. When the United States invades Mexico in 1846, the two are brought abruptly together on the road to war. Nena has a curandera, a healer striving to prove her worth to her father so that he does not marry her off to a stranger. But the shock of their reunion and Nena's rage of Nestor for seemingly abandoning her long ago is quickly overshadowed by the appearance of a nightmare made flesh. So is this also gonna be a second chance romance? That is crazy. It's packed heavy with intense stuff. Wow. Again, enough yapping. Let me get you reading. Oh, it's so scary. When he turned to ask her what was the matter, a dark form bolted forward from the thick brush alongside the stream toward Nena. He could not see if it had 4 legs or 2. Now it lunged high. Now it dived low on all fours. Ugh! Dude, that's literally what I would think about when I was going up the stairs with the lights off as a child. It's... Ugh. I didn't know this was gonna be a romance. Nena was his home. The one thing on earth more precious to him than his own life. I'm reading about a blue 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 blue
vampire.
Listening to The House on Mango Street. It is so entertaining. I'm having such a great time. The chapters are super short and they're like their own little story within, but it's following a little girl, I can't remember how old she is, growing up in Chicago. And I love it so much. It's making me smile so much, making me laugh so much. This is the best. I love it. This is why I love reading. So entertaining. picked up The House on Mango Street by Sandra Cisneros this morning when I went on my walk, and then I proceeded to straighten my hair, work on my reading journal, and then I finished it because it is a very short book. But I wasn't able to pick up the camera and talk about that I was starting it before I just binged and finished it. I think it was only like 2 hours, so it was really easy. It was such a lovely book. I had such a great experience with it. I enjoyed it as much as I thought, and I really enjoyed listening to our main character Esperanza's story. She is a little girl growing up on Mango Street, and it follows her from, I believe, being like 7, 8 years old into becoming a teenager until she's able to move out of Mango Street on her own. And there is so many things that I took in that I did not realize I took for granted. For example, having my own personal yard growing up, or not having to worry to be quiet because I lived in an apartment, not wanting a fence in your yard, you wanted it open, and just little things like that I never realized. You want to come in, Miss Girl? I took for granted, and I didn't really acknowledge how the little things like not having to be quiet growing up was so good that I had growing up in my childhood. There's also just like a ton of other little moments where I realized that I never had to think twice about, and there was also things that she was able to experience that I didn't. For example, the entire book is about her experience on Mango Street. So it's with the kids in the neighborhood, her neighbors. There was a lot of stories about her friends that she had in the neighborhood and all of the shenanigans that they would get into. It was so entertaining. I didn't have that growing up because I lived out in the country, and so I didn't have neighbors to play with. But I did have my own home with an open yard for myself only, whereas she wanted that but was able to have her friends, and I wanted to have friends that I could like meet outside in my street. Like, I didn't have a street, it was open country, which I've learned to love and appreciate too. So it's like perspective. Like, that's what's so fun about books, is like you're able to compare your life to them and how it can be very similar and how it can be really comforting, and also how they're doing things that you wish you could do, and it's almost like you're able to just have fun just listening to them do things like that. Like, gosh, I wanted to play in it with kids my age in my neighborhood like so badly. Like, I had chickens and cows to play with, but I also am so grateful that I grew up on a farm, and it shaped me to who I am. So things like that, it made me laugh so much. But then there's also moments where it makes you so icky and uncomfortable, and it's what happens unfortunately to a lot of younger aged girls. It's vulnerable, it's hilarious, it's extremely entertaining. The writing is so good, and it's a YA book that I have needed, because the last YA books I've read have not been it. I really liked it. Now for the next few days I'm going to work on finishing this one. There's little snippets of it being a like second chance romance, and I'm so excited because it's so much more than that. It has a lot of talk of like history, very intriguing, and I'm excited to continue on. I'm so excited to report that I had an amazing time reading Vampires of el Norte. There was definitely a part of me, a small part of me, that was intimidated with the fact that it was historical fiction. Because when I think about historical fiction, I think of it being boring, honestly, that's what I'm gonna say. Like, makes me think of being in 6th grade in history class and just being confused of what's going on. But the way that this historical fiction was so easy to understand and was obviously a big part of the story, but it didn't take over the story to where it became boring. The dialogue is like how we talk today, so it's easy for you to understand as a reader. I think if it would have been talking like people did in the 1800s, it would have been harder and possibly boring. The historical fiction aspect, I thoroughly enjoyed. The romance in this book, I really enjoyed. I feel like I haven't had too many romance books that I've recently read that feel authentic. Truly was rooting for them the entire time. And the horror aspect, I really enjoyed. I thought it was going to be more of a purely scary book, but I did enjoy that it did have different types of genres and wasn't just purely horror. But it could have disappointed me because I was expecting more horror. But luckily, since the other subplots and the other genres were well written, everything about it I did enjoy. I would rate this book a 4.5. Our main female character, her family is extremely successful. Her father is a well-known ranchero and has a lot of people working for him and has a lot of land. Like, her family is very rich compared to other families and compared to our MMC, who doesn't have much, doesn't come from much, and is actually wanting to build his money, build his reputation to buy his own land. Our female main character gets bit by a vampire, and our male main character Nestor is convinced that she is dead. Like, her mother, her grandmother, I can't remember, literally claims that she has gone. And so Nestor ends up fleeing and is gone for years, for 9 years, believing that Nena is dead, and Nena in fact is not. So when Nestor comes back, there's this like enemies to lovers, there's a second chance that's happening. She is very confused, she doesn't know why he left, and the way that it unravels is just so juicy. I love when she stamps up to her family and she's able to say what she wants. I 1000% want to read more from Isabel Cañas. I was thoroughly impressed with this book, that I know that I want to just branch out to other books that are like this and branch out to other books written by Isabel Cañas. Highly recommend. I hope if you pick up the book that you enjoy it just as much as I did. That is going to be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed coming along on today's reading vlog. I probably will be doing this in the future again. So that is going to be it for today's video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.